Madam President, I'd like to ask that the next statement I make be placed in a separate part in the record.
Without objection.
Madam President, it was February when I was watching the Super Bowl with my family at home. I noticed something that was odd. There was LeBron James on TV. In a commercial, he tells a younger version of himself, and I quote, "If you want to make history, you got to call your own shots." He was promoting Crypto.com, a cryptocurrency exchange based in Singapore. Soon after, one of my favorite comedians appeared on the screen, Larry David. His ad hit a similar note. He warned viewers not to, quote, "miss out on crypto." That ad was sponsored by a different crypto exchange, headquartered in the Bahamas. I saw these ads and thought to myself, what's going on here? This is a football game. Both companies just a few years old. And 30-second ads cost millions of dollars, $7 million, I understand. I can't imagine enlisting LeBron James and Larry David for that purpose. So how exactly can these exchanges that most Americans have never heard of afford to shell out tens of millions of dollars on Super Bowl ads? And better yet, why? Last week, National Public Radio ran a story that helped to answer my question. You see, these crypto companies weren't simply promoting their products, they were trying to create a veneer of credibility. These Super Bowl ads were high-stakes attempts to convince hardworking Americans into investing in volatile, unwieldy, and poorly regulated assets called cryptocurrency. Unfortunately, it seems to be working. Let me tell you about Michelle Mikowski. She lives in Washington State. She watched the same ads I did on the Super Bowl. She shared her story with National Public Radio. When Michelle saw celebrities promoting crypto products, she said it convinced her that, quote, "it's not just scammers that are using them. I felt safe to put my money there." So how did Michelle's crypto investment pan out? Well, 3 months after the Super Bowl, she was down $8,000. She was another victim of the crypto market meltdown that began in May. For the record, in the course of 24 hours, more than $200 billion of value in the crypto industry vanished. And just last week, the industry lost more than 5% of its value again in one day. These rapid losses convinced Michelle to cash out. How does she feel about her crypto experience today? She said, "There's definitely peace that comes with selling off such a volatile asset. I don't have to worry every day, am I losing another $1,000? Michelle was lucky she was able to wash her hands and cut her losses. But Madam President, for the majority of Americans who cannot afford even a $1,000 emergency, losing $8,000 in 3 months is a disaster. That's the difference between paying your rent and living on the street. Look, if you're a retail investor with money to invest and you want to try your hand at the crypto casino, by all means, grab your chips and head to the tables, within reason. But when we're talking about an industry that has reached more than $1 trillion in value, that has shed hundreds of billions of dollars in the past few months, it's time for caution. As I mentioned, cryptocurrencies, even the most well-known like Bitcoins, are poorly regulated, if they are regulated at all. And Bitcoin has seen wild swings. Bitcoin has lost roughly 2/3 of its value since last November. The cost of one Bitcoin fell from $68,000 to under $21,000. And these assets are not only volatile, they're virtually untraceable. Compare that to an investment like a share of stock, and yes, there is risk in the stock market, or an exchange-traded fund. If you're a retail investor and you buy a couple $100 worth of shares in a company, you know you're assuming some risk. That's the nature of investment. But here's the difference. When you buy a stock, under the law, you can find out important information about the company. How many products are they selling? How much are they paying their executives? What risk does a company foresee? You have significantly more information and transparency about where your investment is going. Many ETFs even disclose their holdings every day. After all, they have to. They're required by law. They're regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. With cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, there's no such transparency. They're decentralized, illiquid, and highly speculative. Where are the disclosures? Where are the consumer protections? In many cases, there are none. Instead of encouraging working families to risk their hard-earned cash into remarkably unstable investments, let's pump the brakes on the rocket to the moon. Last Tuesday, I sent a letter, along with my colleagues, Senators Warren and Smith, to Fidelity Investments. They're one of the biggest 401k providers in the world. In April, they made a decision that surprised me and frankly concerned me. Fidelity says they'll soon allow 401k plan sponsors to offer plan participants exposure to Bitcoin. Here's the issue. A 401k account is a nest egg. It's a vehicle that tens of millions of Americans rely on so that many years from now they can retire in dignity. And during this period of economic uncertainty, I can't think of exposing any reason to expose retirement savers to new risk. As we all saw on Super Bowl Sunday, whether it's Matt Damon or LeBron James or Larry David, there's no shortage of options for people who want to invest in crypto. But retirement accounts must be held to a higher standard. And my hope is that Fidelity will live up to its name and meet that standard by reversing this decision. It's also important to recognize that even if you don't invest in a single cryptocurrency, we all have a stake in this industry. Why? Because the process for so-called mining of these digital assets consumes jaw-dropping amounts of energy. As of May, according to the public broadcasting system, the world's Bitcoin mining operations had an annual energy budget equal to the entire country of Argentina, or all the tea kettles in England boiling water for 26 years. And 7 of the largest Bitcoin mining companies consume enough energy alone to power every single home in Houston. That's just Bitcoin. That calculation doesn't even account for the fossil fuels being burned to produce other coins, like Dogecoin. When companies like Fidelity and celebrities like Larry David are hawking an asset class that is unstable, untraceable, and pumping untold tons of carbon into our atmosphere, we should all have the good sense to step back and wrap our heads around this trillion-dollar industry that's not even old enough today to drive a car. Madam President, I've been in several meetings with my colleagues on this cryptocurrency. I am by no means an expert. I have tried to learn as much as I can, but it's an extremely complicated operation. I will tell you this, I fear that we will do something, but not enough. I fear that just a limited amount of regulation by the federal government may convince people that we really have a grip on what's happening in this industry. There is risk associated with it that is major. I've had some well-known and very successful individuals in my office, and I've asked them, they've made millions of dollars. What about crypto? Most of them have said, I wouldn't touch it. And yet we've got to tell the American people, when it's advertised, when it's available, you've got to be careful, particularly when it comes to people with limited assets, people with an adverse situation when it comes to risk, and people who are putting literally their savings and their retirement on the line on these investments. That's why I joined my colleagues in writing to Fidelity and asking them to rationalize how this could be part of any 401k plan. We owe it to the American people to provide them the protection in this industry as we have in so many other areas of investment. It's fundamental, it's fair, and it's the only way to guarantee to them that they have some grip on making investments that could be in their best interest and might not be as well. I yield the floor.